Welcome to the Middleware Tech YouTube channel. In this series, you'll learn about JAX-WS web service. All code examples used in the videos will be available on GitHub. Let's get started.
This is not how you'll do in a production environment. The purpose of these lab exercises to understand how web service work. The purpose of these lab exercises is how web service work, complete internal architecture, how it works. That based on that purpose, you're going to create an web service. That web service is JAX-WS API specification. Based on API specification, the provider for the web service I'm using this JAX-WS RI that is provided by Sun. The example I'm using that is called addition functionality not required. So this is the provider I'm going to use based on JAX-WS RI API specification that came from Sun, and we have to create server side and we have to create client side. Like this way I'm going to create a simple web service, right? We have done last day example, it's fine. We'll try to resolve the errors, but let me complete this one after that, right? Okay, one by one, and everyone can see this. Now this is again I'm saying this is the lab that we are doing here. The main purpose is we try to understand how this JAX-WS web service is actually working. So let's focus on the server side. So on the server side part, what you have to do, step one, first you have to create dynamic web project. Step two, then you have to copy. So the thing is that if you see here, I'm going to use this JAX-WS RI implementation that is provided by Sun. Now you have to download these jars. These download jars will not be available using Eclipse. So first step is that you have to download all the jars. Download all the jar for JAX-WS RI. So from where I can download, I'm just writing the site. You can use this site to download. https://github. You can download from here .com slash get it here. So I think you can download from this site. Control C. One. What happened? Control C. If you come into this site, you can see here. It will tell you to download all the jars. So these are the jars that you need, for to implement these examples. So you can go here and you can download zip. So you'll get all the things from here. Fine. Okay.
Yeah, please copy that link.
So first we have dynamic web project, then copy all the jar in the lib folder. You have to copy it on the lib folder. Okay. Then step 3 is that what you have to do is that create a Java class. Then step 4, create web service from Java class. I'm writing all the things because doing first time it will help. Step 5. Next, what we'll do, once we have created the web service from the Java class, then test and deploy inside Tomcat. That's it. So deploy in the Tomcat, and then test using tell me so py. These are the steps that you have to complete one by one, right? Okay, so let's complete one by one all the steps. Okay, so let's create dynamic web project. So last you have done EMI calculator. Now this is an example that we'll do some examples related to addition example. So create one web service, right click, new, others, and so you have to go to dynamic web project, fine, move next. So use that project term name is addition calculator demo 2, addition cal demo 2. We are using the example, not EMI example. I'm using some addition example to implement this web service. Fine. Okay. Tomcat server I'm using here, and use 2.5. Fine. That's it. Okay, move next. And here, okay, dynamic web project. Fine. Move next, and finish. That's it. Show yes. Click finish. So we have created this dynamic web project. Fine. Yeah. Fine. Second step is we have to copy all the jar files in the leaf folder. So jar files already have copied this. So where is all the jar files? Paste it. Right. Okay. Now see the example that we are doing here using jar file. So just okay. Let's complete it first. Then so second step is done. Copy all the jar files in the leaf folder. Done. Now create one Java class. Now this class, how we'll create this Java class? One is interface, another is implementation provider, like this. One is interface, another is implementation provider. Means so interface, another is class, implements, interface. Let's see it's working or not. First you have to declare an interface, right? So go to this here, src, right click, new, interface first. So interface, so the package name, use the package name as this, and name of the class is cal web service. This is an interface, cal web service, and the gg package. That's it. Interface is done, and the implementation class for this interface So the implementation class for this interface, you can create in the same package. Right click, new class. So name of the class is, you can write cal web service impl, right? So cal web service impl. Fine, finished. It's a class. This should implements cal web service. Now here I have not added any method in the interface, right? So add one method here. What I want to do? I want to do some addition. Should I int add int a comma int b, and do an addition between two numbers. That's it. So cal web service is done. Interface is done. So in the implementation class, I should overwrite. So right click, source, override, implement the method. Click OK. Fine, done. So it is just going to return the addition. That's it. So return a plus b. Simple examples we have taken just to understand the complete flow. That's it, done. We have class and the implementation class. Fine, close all. So this is my class. Now what you have to do, this Java class is, this part is done, step 3 is done. Now I have to create web service from the Java class. So when I'm going to create a web service from the Java class, when you create the web service from the Java class, then we have to do lots of tasks like how to create web service from the Java class. First step is you have to use one annotation called @web service. So since in case of JAX-WS specification, if I use @web service for your class, it becomes a web service. That's it. If you use @web service for your class, that becomes a web service. Right? Okay. Okay. So this is the things I have to use this for class level. First one. Second, what I have to do, I have to update web.xml using that. So we have to update that web.xml file using servlet. That is being used for this implementation, and we have to create another one file. It is called create one file, since we are using this implementation, JAX-WS RI implementation. To get one separate file, that is some. You can use your own name, but generally we use this name, JAX-WS.xml. This file you have to create to provide some mapping. I'll tell you what mapping I'm going to do. Next, what we'll do, we have to create server side artifact. The 4 tasks you have to do. When you create a web service using Java class, so these are the 4 tasks you have to do, right? So let's do one by one. First, I have to use @web service annotation, right? So if you want to use web service annotation for your Java class, so first the interface also you can use this web service. So you can use web service. See, this web service is coming from which package? JAX JWS package. So for interface, I've used web service. So for this implementation class also, you have to use web service. Web service. So if you use this, then it becomes web service. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. Now if you're going to use @ web service, that's it. Your class implemented as a web service. That's it. It is done. Right now, now you can mention all the details in between. You can mention all the details in between, like what is the port name, what should be the service name, what should be the endpoint interface. Those things you can use here in the attribute, so that what you are going to mention, that it will be defined inside the visual file, generated visual file. So you can mention them as a separate attribute, or if you don't want to mention, it will create based on what you have defined here. So let's define some of the properties. We have one of the property called endpoint interface. And endpoint interface. So what is the name of the endpoint interface that I'm going to use? Endpoint interface is nothing but your interface name. What is the interface name? Cal web service, that is available in the GG package. So gg.cal web service web interface name. That's it. Your interface name. Endpoint interface means what is your interface? Interface is this one, right? So that I've used endpoint interface, right? Semicolon. Another property you can use, like what should be the port name you want to use for your web service. So generally it comes interface name and then port, one word we generally use. So port name. Remember the attribute will come with the practice in a ME port name. So what is the port name I want to use? I want to use the port name as Cal Web Service port. So you can use the port name as Cal Web Service. Control C. Cal Web Service. That's it. Now it's an user defined name. It is not mandatory that you have to use the same name. So you can reduce this like this. Okay. Now you can use another attribute. What is the name? Service name also is there, another attribute. Service name. And use the same thing. What is in the Cal Web Services, then the same thing you can use. Control V. Since it's a user defined name, then just make it small. Right. So you can define, these are some of the attributes for your web service. So those attributes that it will use in your visual file, generated visual file, the name that you are going to use here, same name it will use in the generated visual file, right? Okay. So this is my class that I have generated, and I'm going to generate as a web service. How? Because I have used this @ web service annotation. Now like this way it is going to create the web service, right? So just you have to use @ web service annotation, it will create the web service. Fine. Okay. So this task is done. Now, as you know, last day talked about that in the web service communication, we have one service requester, another service provider. Service requester is going to send a request, and service provider is going to provide the corresponding web service. But web service communication is nothing but the communication in your as a SOAP request and SOAP response. So when the SOAP request is coming from the requester, then that SOAP request is handled by a SOAP handler servlet in the provider side, right? So you should provide that particular servlet path in a .xml file. Okay, for this implementation. Fine. So let's come to a .xml file, and here you have to provide that path for your servlet. Now I can remove these things, not required. Delete. Right. So already know how to provide the servlet path, right? So servlet, and another two element is there. One is servlet element and servlet mapping element. Servlet mapping, right? And inside servlet we have some of the servlet name, and that is, tell me, servlet class. Another inside this also you have, tell me, servlet name, and we have URL pattern. So what is the servlet name I'm going to use here? So what is my servlet name I'm going to use? Cal Web Service. I'm going to use this name web service everywhere, control C. So you can this servlet name and this servlet name is always same. And you want to make it available inside this path, the URL pattern. Correct? Okay. And when the request will come, so who is the handler? SOAP handler servlet. What is the name of the SOAP handler servlet? SOAP handler servlet name is WS servlet. So how to know the path of the WS servlet, right? So do one thing right here, WS servlet. WS servlet, not taking WS servlet, control X, control V, WS servlet. See the path of the W. I'm just to get the path of the servlet, I'm writing it. This is my WS servlet path. Control C. This path here, control V. Right? So not required, remove this. So I got it. Everything. This is my SOAP handler servlet for this web service. Now here I have to load one of the listener, otherwise it will not work. For WS servlet, we have one of the listener called WS servlet context listener. We have to load one listener here, then only it will work. So listener tab, listener class. Now the class is WS servlet context listener. Once again, I don't know the path, right? So WS servlet context listener, LSTN, here listener. Right? WS, see the path, this is the path. So this path I need. Control C. Put here, control V. Done. So remove this. And right, okay. So this is done for both. Okay, the web.xml part is done. This is done. Update web.xml. This is done. Now, when I go for this JAX-WS RI implementation, we have to provide one of the XML file separately. That is called sun JAX-WS.xml file. It is used by your JAX-WS RI runtime environment. So you have to create one XML file like this. So where is that XML file I'll get? I have to create it. Where I have to create inside the WebINF. So inside WebINF, you have to create an XML file. Right click, new, others. Come to XML. This is my XML file. Now next, name of the XML file is JAX-WS.xml. Okay, I'm creating some JAX-WS.xml. Next, finished. So here you have to provide some path for this XML file. Like it is actually an endpoint. If you can, so the path for this is, it will come with endpoints. Endpoints. XMLNS equal to. If you want, you can copy that path from net also. Anywhere. So this is actually So what is the namespace for this excellent? It's java dot sun dot com slash xml slash ws slash ri slash runtime. This is the path that you have to use. You can check if the path is correct or not. Yes, this is the path. Okay. Now this is endpoints. We have to add its end version. You use 2.0. Now what we have to do with this file, we have to extra add it separately because of this implementation that we are using here. So endpoint name equal to endpoint name we are using Calib service. This is the name endpoint name Calib service. Okay. And what is the implementation provider name? Implementation name of the implementation provider class Calib service IMPL in the GG package. Fine. So we have to use here Control C gg dot Calib service IMPL, right? And it will be available in the URL path pattern. URL pattern is Calib service. This also. This file we have to add it separately so that this ACI can have access to this. Okay. Now whatever things we have done in this web service implementation, we have done it. Now we have to create server side artifact. Last one, server side artifact we have to create. So how to create server side artifact? If you remember that we generally create server side artifact with the help of a particular tool. Its name is WSGen. The WSGen is used to create server side artifact. We use one of the tool. Its name is WSGen. WSGen. It is used to create server side artifact. So how to create? What is the command? What is the command for this? We generally use WSGen. So WSGen and the corresponding implementation from where I'm going to create that server side artifact. So when I'm going to create a server side artifact in a particular current location, I want to create the server side artifact. From where are you going to create? From the implementation class. What is the implementation class? That is gg dot cal service impl. From this class, and keep it here in the current folder with WSGen, right? Okay. So what I have to do is that I have to create a server-side artifact for this whatever we have done just now. Now how to create server-side artifact? How to create? How I'll create this? So if I'm going to create a server-side artifact, I want to create it manually. Okay. So whatever we have done, let me right click. Right click. Run on server. Next. You're using this one, right? Addition. remove, finished. So we should see that whether it's created the class file on this or not. Demo project, where it is, class file and test folder where you have all the jar. Fine. So where we have all the jars, this is my software. Here I have all the jars with JDK version, Java build path, Java compiler. It is using Java 1.8. I want to do all the things in Java 1.7. Otherwise, it will give some 52 error. So what I'll do is that right-click properties. I'll just make it 1.7. So I made it 1.7. Apply. I'm using JDK 1.7. Okay, in this example. So if you're using JDK 1.7, then one second I want to once again run on server. Now it will generate based on JDK 1. Now it will generate based on JDK 1.7 class file. Let me check it's created or not. So it should create both the Java classes, right? Right click, run on server. Just I want to create both the Java class. Right click, build path, refresh. So I should get the Java class here. Should come. Class. Right click. So that it should deploy it, all the things, and for the Java class, we should get all. Right click, refresh, and we have everything here. EG class is also there. This is the class file. This is the implementation class, and it should create the Java class here. Folder, right click, paste it here. Yes to all. Pasted. So this is server-side artifact. So this is my Java class, and server-side artifact is available here itself. .class files. Fine, done. Okay. So server-side artifact created. Then what I will do here, I have to use one of the symbol. Then what you are doing? Copy server side artifact and paste inside project. That's it, right? So we pasted here. It is done. Fine. What's the next step? Next step is just check what is the next step. Next step, you have to deploy this inside a Tomcat. Deploy it inside Tomcat. Fine. We'll deploy it inside Tomcat. Select your project. Right click. Run as. Run on server. Run on server. Finish. So the complete things deployed to inside Tomcat. Next, test using SOAP UI tool. So now you have to test this web service. Fine. So how to test it web service? After this, you have to use the endpoint URI. What is the endpoint URI? This is the endpoint URI. Control C. Just paste it here. Control V. Question mark. WSDL. Enter. See where it should come. Question mark. WSDL. Endpoint URI. Enter. Right click. Restart. Okay. I have started the console. So it is saying some of the spelling mistake. Implementation element endpoint runtime description. Line number 3. Something problem with the implementation. Line number 3. Endpoint. Line number 3. So what is the problem with the endpoint? Line number 3 here. Started an endpoint, and then you have used endpoint. So here you have used endpoint name equal to cal web service, and implementation equal to the package name you have used, gg.cal web service impl. This is gg.cal web service impl, and the URL pattern you have used cal web service. So it is
But
correct only.
implementation spelling is wrong.
Implement. Okay, sorry. The spelling is a mistake.
Yeah.
Yes. Implementation. Okay. So for this small mistake, we have to. Now I think it will work. Okay. Finished. So you can see here there is no error in the console this time. No error, right? So it is working fine. And here you have to use Control V, cal web service, question mark, WSDL, enter. Yes, I got the visual file, right? So that means the web service created, right? So when I can access the visual file, that the meaning of this is that the web service created, deployed in the Tomcat server. That's why I can access it. Now I want to test this web service. How to test it? Already we know last day, right? How to test it? Control C and test it with the help of here demo something name. Now we have to put the visual file. Okay, click OK. So this is the request. Just click here. So this is my SOAP request, and SOAP request and to do the addition between 200 and 50. I'm going to send a SOAP request, so I should get a SOAP response, right? So if I'm send a SOAP request, I should get a SOAP response, but where is your response? Response would come. So there is no response for your request, right? There is no response for your request. If I send a request, then I should get a SOAP response on the other side, right? So how we can get that response? So we have to check what is the problem with endpoints. It is saying no class definition error. So this is another class. It is saying that no class definition error. So what does it mean? This is actually belongs to a particular package. That package you have to include. It belongs to a particular package. You have to even download that package. So if you go to the Google, if you just write copy and check what is the name of this package that we can download. Control V, This is the package that you have to download. JAX-WS RT this package. So I've already downloaded this. It is, and once again restart the server. Once again restart the server. Then it will work. So once again come to the SOAP UI, send a request. So I've added this in the server, right? Search RI. Restart. And then you try once again. Yes, it is working fine, right? So if you send a SOAP request, I got the SOAP response. Addition is working fine using this web service, right? So here you have to add it separately. First one is this one. Right click, rename, Control C, Control V dot jar. Another jars you have to add. Since you are using Tom jar, these two jars you have to separately download and add in the leaf folder, then it will work fine. So just see here how many things we have done. The purpose is that to understand everything implicitly what is going on. So here we have created the server side part using JAX-WS API specification provider. JAX-WS RI implementation we have used to create this web service. So first we have created this dynamic web project. We have added the jars, and we have created one Java class. And how we have created the web service? Just we have used one annotation at the web service. That's it, right? And then we have to do some of the necessary things to execute an web service using JAX-WS RI implementation. Since we are using Tomcat, again I'm saying we are using Tomcat to execute an web service. So when you're using Tomcat, all the basic APIs is not defined in the Tomcat, that we have to add it externally separately. That's why we have done so many tasks, right? But if you do the same web service in WebLogic server, JBoss application server, WebSphere application server, you don't have to do all those tasks. Everything, all the APIs are available with those application servers. Since we are doing in the Tomcat, Tomcat will not provide you all the APIs. That's why you have to add them separately, one by one, to create an web service server side part. And we have done it, right? And what we have done, you can see in front of you, all the steps are visible, right? And correct. Anyone have any queries, please? Here, till here, whatever we have done. System also, so that you can see access this WSDL file. And now you have these Java classes, and you have already created the web service. How? When you're using @web service annotation, the web service is created. Fine. Now I have to create server-side artifact with the help of the server-side artifact is being created with the help of a particular tool that is called WSGen. The purpose of WSGen tool is to create server-side artifact. We have to create it manually because Tomcat server will not provide the corresponding APIs. So how we can create it manually? Now here, when you're creating this manually, we have to think about the JDK version. JDK version, same versions that your project is using, and when you're creating the server-side artifact, you have to follow the same JDK version. So in our current example, project using which JDK version, you can see here, project using the JDK version Java 1.7. Project using the JDK version Java 1.7. So when you're creating the server-side artifact, you have to create with JDK 1.7 only, else it will not work. It will give 52 error, I think, right? When there is a version problem in dot classes. So you got the dot class file. The dot class file, what I have done, I put all the dot class file inside a package, mapping related to JAX-B annotation. So for the time, just I want to say that purpose of JAX-WS annotation is to convert XML to Java, Java to XML. So this is responsible to handle the request to change XML to Java, Java to XML, because your SOAP request is converted as a Java object, and Java object converted as a SOAP response from the provider side, right? So that's why that is how. Just add these two jars separately in the leaf folder, then you will not get any error. Then you can test it with the help of SOAP UI. I think it should work for everyone. It like this. Now see, the thing you will say that if I am going to work on web service, I have to do so many tasks. No, you don't have to do so many tasks. The purpose of this lab is to understand how the things are going on. Since we are using Tomcat web service, Tomcat server, it will not provide all the default features that is provided by an application server. All the things I have to do it manually. That's why we have to do so many tasks, right? But in actual production environment, you don't have to do those tasks. The purpose of this lab to understand the flow, how web service is actually working. If you do the same things in WebLogic, JAWS, or WebSphere, you don't have to do all the things. All the things will be taken care of by your application server APIs. For anyone it is running these examples, anyone is running, try from your side. If it is not running, I'll see all the system one by one. Just check these steps. What you have to do, right click, close all. You have to select your project, right click, run as, run on server, move next, next finished. You will get the URL. Just see here, you'll get your URL, and at the end, you have to just add the endpoint URI or URL pattern name. So Control C and Control V, enter. So you'll get it that URL. Just see here. You got the URL from here, and you can just click that URL. You can get it. So now if you got the URL, then you can test it with the help of SOAP UI. You'll find that it is working. Next, what we have to do is that we have to create a client-side part. We have to create a client-side part for JAX-WS API. So first we will do this client-side part. And next what we'll do, we'll try to understand after this, what we'll do, we try to understand WebLogic server. We'll create the setup of WebLogic server and try to do the same example or some another examples, how we can test an web service using WebLogic server, test and deploy using WebLogic server. That we'll talk about next step in our next steps, right? So next what we'll do, next we have to implement this client side part. So the same code, client side part we'll implement, right? When it is done, that is done with the help of Tomcat. Fine. Then we'll go for WebLogic server. Same things when you do in WebLogic server, you don't have to handle too much complexity, because WebLogic server is an application server and it will handle all the API related issues. So you have to just move next, and I'll show you how to do those things. So next step is that we will go with WebLogic server and try to test an web service that is based on JAX-WS API specification, right? And after that, once it is done, so for this, I think I want everyone should have a WebLogic server in their customization of WSDL file, CRUD using web service, exception handling using web service, and lots of things there will come one by one. But check that things are running in your system, because it is not running, then it will not feel it good. So I'll suggest to come execute everyone, and any error, you can show me the errors. I can give you some possible solution. You can try based on that. First time it may take some time, slight complex, but very easy. Yes, web service. This we have done before lunch. So let's get some input here. Why bottom up? Because I've created the web service from a Java class. That's a bottom up. Why JAX-WS? We have created the web service with the help of @web service annotation. So in JAX-WS approach, what we bottom up approach, what we do is that there is lots of thing in between here. So here we'll try to understand some of the points like JAX-WS POJO endpoint, JAX-WS EJB endpoint. Now here we'll generate web service artifact using content inside WSDL file. So we got one term called ACI, server side endpoint interface. So ACI is nothing but the server side artifact. So if you remember, we have created the last example, right? So that server side artifact is also called ACI, service endpoint interface. That is another name of server side artifact. Fine. So how to create server side artifact with the help of WSGen, that we have done manually, right? So WS JAX-WS development approach. So in JAX-WS development approach, how we are going to create a web service. I am going to use @web service annotation to create a web service that we have done. We are using @web service annotation to create a particular web service. So when you are creating that web service and that gets deployed into the server, and you can access it with the help of WSDL or server service contract. As a service contract, you can access, right? Okay. Not only on the server side, right? Server side means what we have done, sending a particular request. When you send a particular request and you get a particular response. So based on your request, you'll get the response. So when you're sending a request, the request is going as a SOAP request, and the response that is coming as a SOAP response. So when this request is going as a SOAP request, where it is going to the server side endpoint. ACI, server side ACI is going to handle your SOAP request. So server side ACI is nothing but the Java class, and you are sending a SOAP request. SOAP request is an XML, right? So there is a Java to XML conversion, right? So Java to WSDL conversion, because the request that you are going to send, that request you are sending as a SOAP request. SOAP is an XML, and who is going to handle the request? Some Java classes, right? So there is some Java to XML conversion is there, right? So who is going to handle the Java to responsible to handle Java to XML conversion? Already I told you last day also, when your SOAP request is going and the SOAP response is coming, SOAP request and response both are XML, right? On the ACI, server side ACI contains some Java classes that we have created. So how to do the Java to XML conversion? That is handled by this JAX-B API. Okay, yeah. And same things also. So if you see Java to WSDL or SOAP to WSDL, when you are saying, so what is this? Java to XML conversion only, right? So Java to XML conversion is always handled by this JAX-B annotation, right? This is handled by the JAX-B annotation, right? So and if you want to see, I want to see what is there inside JAX-B annotation. I want to see. So if you want to open this file that we have created in our project, you can see that JAX-B annotations here. If you open this file here, you can see these are the some JAX-B annotations, @XML root element, @access type, @XML type. These are JAX-B annotation file that we have created with the help of WSGen. See, this is a JAX-B annotation file. So I'm not going into these files explanation. I'll come after some time. So this two file is connected with our JAX-B annotation. So this file actually, this part is actually responsible to handle Java to XML and XML to Java conversion. That has been given here. Now the question is that how I can create a particular web service. How I'll create in case of JAX-WS implementation. Just you have to use only one scenario, @web service. If I'm going to use @web service annotation for your class, then your class become web service. That's it. So only one thing, I have to use @web service annotation. If I'm going to use @web service annotation for my class, then that class convert as a web service, and all the methods by default defined as a service in your WSDL file. By default, all the methods it will take as an operations under port type, right? Okay. Life cycle means a service Implementation must be stateless object. A service implementation bean must not save a client-specific state across method calls. So there is two annotation is there that post construct pre-restore annotation can be used for lifecycle methods. Now, lifecycle means the object that you are creating, how this object lifecycle is maintained, okay, by the container, right? So that is nothing but the life cycle. So there is some life cycle annotation called @post construct @pre-destroy. You can use this annotation to manage the life cycle of the instance. So now JAX-WS requirement. When you talked about JAX-WS requirement, then we have to use the package called javax.ws.webservice, and this package, as I told you, that we have to annotate the class with the help of @webservice annotation. Fine, but you have some other features also, like your class must not be declared as final, must not be abstract, must have a default public no argument constructor, and must not have a finalized method. These are some of the features that in your class you should not have these things. Okay, must and you should have a default constructor. These are some of the priority tasks. But if you annotate your class with the help of annotation, web service annotation, that is enough to create this, right? So this is some related things. Now, web service URL. Web service URL means how you are going to access the web service. How I am going to access the web service? How I'm going to access the web service? In your run on server. When you are running on server, finished. When you're running on server, here, what you are using @web service. I'm using this Control C here at the end, Control V, enter. So this is what? This is called web service URL. What is there? Localhost, port number, the name of the project, and the URL pattern, right? And if after this, if you write question mark WSDL, you will get the WSDL file. This is the URL that is given here. That is the picture that they have given. So for your simple Java class, now you can create web service from an EJB also, right? If I'm going to create a web service from an EJB, then for your EJB endpoint, we are saying you're creating a web service from a simple Java class, then we say POJO endpoint, like that. Okay, these things we have not done. @web method we have not done still now. @web method, I'll come into the @web method after some time. The meaning is that, what is the meaning of this @web method except equal to true? See, when you are writing, when you're creating a web service, when you're creating this web service, you have created a web service. Fine. Now, what does it mean @web method? So, see here one of the annotation should come @web method. Web method. This @web method, we should use it here. If you are not using, by default, it is using @web method. Got the point? So use of @web method is optional when you have only one method inside a class. Have multiple methods. Okay. So when you have created only one method inside a class, then @web method use of this annotation is optional. You may use it, may not use it. If you're not using it, then it will use by default @web method. Now the question is that why I'll go for @web method annotation, right? So @web method annotations is used for very specific requirement. I'll just say the requirement. Assume you have another one method, public void show. You have another one method, right? So now here, if you want, this also should come inside your web service to access. So you can use this one also as an @web method, right? So what is the purpose of @web method? Now if you create a particular web service using this, so they're deployed. See here, both show method and add method, both should be available in your WSDL file. Check. Show method and add method, both should be available in your WSDL file. See here, not yet. see here, add method is there. Okay, once again we have to create server side artifact. Once again we have to come. I'll talk to you after some time in this. In this example, it is slight complex. So just now I want to say that if you don't want a particular method to be available in your WSDL as an operation, then I have to use here exclude equal to true. That is the purpose of @web method. If you don't want, if you have any particular method to be available as a service in your WSDL file, then I have to use. I'll come after that, after some time when I'll talk about WSDL customization. I'll talk about this. Right, we can use WSGen. The purpose of WSGen is to create server-side artifact, right? Okay. So we can use @web method for your class to create for a particular specific method. Now the thing is that sometimes I don't want my method name should be same as the name of the operation in my WSDL file. If you don't want same name as your method name and the operation name should be same in your WSDL file, then if you can get a separate operation name, then operation name that you will use, same name will be reflected in the WSDL file. So your method name, Java class method name will not be reflected in the WSDL file. The operation name that you have defined, that will be reflected in the WSDL file. So in that case, @web method, operation name equal to remove by ID, a particular operation name in the WSDL file. Okay, that's why this property is used. So in the WSDL file, you can use removed by ID, removed by code. So this removed by ID and removed by code, this is inside a Java class. You have used @web method annotation with the help of this property operation name equal to this. If you are using this, then in the WSDL file, you will find removed by ID, operation name equal to removed by code. These two property you will find in your WSDL file. So in your WSDL file operation name, it will not show you actual Java method name. Remove airport. It will show you the operation name that you have defined with the help of @web method annotation that will be reflected in your WSDL file, right? And I'll come with the slides. Then it will be much more clear because those things we have not still not done in the labs. Okay, so still now you have done this server side part. You have done this server side part. Fine. So some of you have implemented, for some of you the error is coming. Fine. So let's